Hello everyone, and welcome to this session dedicated to digital education here at the International Space University. My name is Dane Colt. I will be moderating this session, as I said, dedicated to digital education, specifically to two courses that we're very excited about. One of which is a course that's existed for a little while, but we're revamping it, making it a little bit more up to date, if I can say so. That is the on-demand space courses. Which are pre-recorded lessons that you can watch at home. And then of course we also have what we're calling the Online Space Lecture Series, or the OSLS, which are live courses that are a little bit more in depth and are designed to help get you into the space sector. Now, to help me with this introduction, I've got two really great guests with me this evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you are in the world. First of all, I've got Nicola Peter, who is ISU's president, and Nicola comes to us from the European Space Agency, but has been here working as the president for a little while now. And of course, we have Arif Göktürk, who is who comes to us with a background in space propulsion engineering. You are yourself an ISU alum.
Correct.
And currently you're managing the professional development continuing education program. So you've got a lot to tell us about, I think, as far as these programs are concerned. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome all of you who are joining us online as well. I see we've got a number of people who are joining us. We're up to about 50 participants already. So welcome to you who are joining us online. And we've got a lot of things we're going to be doing today. First of which will be a brief presentation of the on-demand space courses. So we've got that to look forward to. But of course, before we do all of that, I want to give the floor over to our president, Nicola Peter, to say a few words about digital education. So,
thank you, Dan. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. So we are really happy to have you with us on the call tonight. And it's an important night for us, or day, or afternoon, or morning, because we are dedicating this session to talk about digital education. Digital education is something, my colleague Göktürk will talk about it, but it's something that is really important in today's education, or training. Because ISU exists since 36 years. We are the only university dedicated to space. We've trained and educated more than 5,600 participants from over 110 countries. But you might know that sometimes opportunities or talents is not restricted by geography, but opportunities do. Sometimes you might be wondering, ISU looks fantastic, I would like to go there to be part of the community because we are the biggest network in the space sector. But maybe you don't have the time, or you don't have the possibility to come physically with us. So we decided to go on this digital path to develop new products and activities, or revamp, as Dane said, some of our activities, and that you will learn a bit more in details in a few minutes. But it's really to show that ISU is listening to all of you. We received a lot of people reaching out to us to say, we would like to come, or can you do online education? So the answer is yes. We can do digital education, and we are there to help you, and that's why we've developed this set of opportunities for you to learn more about the space sector or to engage more into the space sector.
fantastic. Thank you very much for the introduction. Göktürk, I want to hand the floor over to you. So you are going to tell us all about first the on-demand space courses. You've got I think a little presentation that you're going to share with us.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually, before doing it, let me add a little bit to what Nicola said about digital education in general, because most of the people probably know ISU for other on-site, in-person programs. You know, it's mostly the master's program, the SSB, the SHSSB in Australia, and we are actually doing digital education for 5 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not very well known. Obviously, during the pandemic times, it was kind of apparent, but since then we continued what we learned and we are adding it to it. And we mentioned about 5,600 alumni. We actually have almost 300 of them coming from our digital education program so far in the last 5 years. So it's actually a lot of people go through those courses, we get the feedback, and now, you know, what we will present today is some of the things that we have been doing, and we are revamping them, as you mentioned, and some of the things that is we are launching actually new today. So, okay, let's actually start talking about this one by one. So, if we actually look at what we have in terms of the digital education at ISU, so today I would like to discuss two umbrella, let's say, opportunities if you join us in digital education at ISU. One is what we can call as the on-demand space courses, okay, ODCS, and the second one is the online space lecture series. So the second one, the latter, is actually what we have been doing so far, and the first one that I'll talk about first is actually what we are launching recently nowadays. So let's start with that one. So the aspect of on-demand space courses is different than the second one, because so far what we have been doing at ISU in digital education, we were doing it live. So we were actually connecting the participants to a particular program, or we are doing something live. So it was always, it's a cool thing, but they have to be there at the time, defined hour, defined time zone, and sometimes it was not actually working that well, because you can be in a very different time zone. So we were getting a lot of requests. Can we have some courses that we can do at our own pace, at our own time, so we are not restricted by time. So this is exactly where this on-demand space courses come. So obviously, these are introductory level courses. This is what I can call your introduction to International Space University. And the content of it is your virtual attendance to a series of lectures. They are pre-recorded materials, so you can actually, once you are inside the event, you can rewatch them. It's not only actually the lectures, so the lectures has their own components, engagement components embedded into them, like quiz questions, like extra reading materials. So it's a sequence of a lecture, actually, not just the lecture itself. So as we mentioned, they are designed as asynchronous courses, so you can go through them at your own pace and time. And obviously, so they are there, so you can subscribe whenever you want. So you can subscribe today, you can subscribe in a month from now or in a year from now. And what we intend to do is to actually update them as we go along, because space sector is so dynamic. It doesn't stay. So whatever we put today, maybe it will be slightly already obsolete in a year. So we will continue updating these courses. And what is also important is we'll give the lifetime access to these courses. Once you subscribe, you're there, and we'll also have access to these updates as we go along. So in terms of target audience, as you see, actually it's pretty much everybody who is interested in space. So from university students, even the students, you don't need to be a graduate, so even the students, but also to professional, entrepreneurs, executives, researchers, enthusiasts, space enthusiasts in general. So today I would like to actually mention two distinct opportunities that you can follow if you select to be an on-demand ISU course. One is operated by our entity in US, which is called the Space Sector Crash Course Digital. And the second one, which I'll talk about, is called the Treks to Space. All right.
Gokto, if I may, just before
Sure.
we dive in. So what you just showed is our two different models.
Right.
And if you want to put it simply, you have on-demand space course is like Netflix, and online lecture series is like going to the movie theater to watch it live. So you know when the show is running, but you don't choose when you go to the show. You can choose the show. Or the other one is like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, whatever you have in your country. And that's, put it very simply, if I'm not mistaken,
Absolutely.
that's what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And both has its own opportunities.
Exactly, yes. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, so let's talk about the first of the on-demand courses that we have, which is called the Space Sector Crash Course Digital. So some of you may be aware that actually this is something that we started also recently, a year ago, Space Sector Crash Course that happened in US. So it was also an introductory course which covers what we call the 7 ISU disciplines. So at ISU, we are a space university. So most of the time when people talk about space, they think about space engineering, space, technical space. Space is not only technical, space is actually mostly non-technical maybe, but we are not aware. So at ISU, we are looking into 7 what we call the ISU disciplines, as you can see on the slide, which covers the space physical sciences, life sciences, engineering maybe on the technical side, but also space economics, space policy, space law, business management, entrepreneurship, obviously within that, space applications, which is also a huge corporate sector, and space humanities, which covers the cultural aspect of it, which is also very, very important. So whichever ISU program you take, first of all, you go through these disciplines because ISU is known for its interdisciplinarity. And this course, obviously, is not an exception. So this is really your very introduction to this 7 disciplines. As you can see, when you take this course, it will be a presentation of these disciplines, past, present, and the future of these disciplines. And we will have a presentation of 1.5 hours each. So it's basically really an introduction. Plus, then through we will be using a special portal, let me call it. Then through this portal, you will have the chance to have asynchronous discussions with the experts. We will have the discussions board, we will have the chat functionalities, we will have the asynchronous Q&A. So after you go through these lectures, you will have access to the portal and ask and interact with your peers and interact with the faculty members who have given the course. So we are currently on the beta testing of it, actually, but it's coming soon, very, very soon. In a month from now, you will be having access to this through our website. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please shoot an email to crashcourse@isu.edu. So our team will be more than happy to respond to any of your questions of this offer. All right, so let's move on to the second one on the on-demand space courses end, which is Treks to Space, as we call it. So this one is also similar in the context, but let me add to it. So it currently has more actually visibility, as you can see. We will cover not only 7 disciplines in a more introductory level, but we will have 11 lectures on what we consider the fundamentals of space. All right. So all of these will also have their read ahead materials or read after materials. This course will also come with its certificate of completion, which will be connected to quizzes. So which means that when you go through these 11 lectures, as part of the lecture or at the end of the lecture, there will be quiz components that you can test yourself, your understanding. And one cool component of this is once you complete this course, after you complete this course, you will have the opportunity to have a video call with one of the experts who is teaching part of this course. So as you can see also on the slide, we are running this course, we are partnering for this course with the School of Disruption from Switzerland, from Titan Disruptive Innovation Center. And again, this is brand new, so currently we are actually collecting applications for this course, which also you can now see the curriculum on the screen. As you can see, it's covering a broad range of disciplines from space science, engineering, applications, policy, humanities, life sciences. And as you can see, as we are launching it now, in a few weeks, there is a discount, an opportunity for you to get this course with a discounted rate. Again, there is no deadline, obviously, because you can subscribe anytime, maybe not with this discount, but you can subscribe anytime, so it will be available on the portal. Again, if you have any questions, please shoot an email to our admissions team on admissions@isu.edu, and we will be happy to have you in one of these courses. So I think this covers the first part of what I want to present, the on-demand space courses. So just as a brief summary, these two opportunities are for the people who want to have a very first introduction to space, and they really don't have time to come live on a particular time, particular date, but they need their own pace and they just want to learn on their own time. So this is what it is.
Great. So, very exciting. Sounds like this is a brand new offer. Great opportunity to get an introduction to the space sector via either the space sector crash course or via the tracks to space if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth. But as you said, no matter where you are in the world, you can connect at any time, which is really the great advantage of this brand new program. And if you sign up relatively soon, of course, you get to benefit from this temporary discount. But it's not going to last, of course, as they always say. I want to just continue this discussion a little bit more because we have these participants who are going to join this program. I mean, what can we say if we were to summarize? What are they going to gain from this program?
A lot, and it's not an euphemism because first you will get the knowledge. You will even know, as Goktuk mentioned, you will know about space. You will learn about space from different angles. And I think this is very important because in the space world, if you want to understand the space sector, but if you want to improve in your career in the space sector, you know that you need to know what your partner is thinking, the way they are coming from. And here, that's the strength of ISU, this interdisciplinary component. So that way they learn about you learn about all the different elements that give you a 360 view on the sector. And that's really important. The second element is that you also enter into a community. You enter, even though you might be from home, from work, or taking that from your phone into your hand and to follow the lectures, you are learning, but you're also entering the bigger space network. And that's what's important, because after that, when you go to conference, to events, you are able to reach out to other people. And I think that's no one else can do that. Is really something particular.
That actually leads me to another question I wanted to ask, which is how well will this program allow people to actually enter into the space sector? I mean, if they're at home watching, normally we think of somebody on an online course sort of in their own little bubble, but this of course isn't really the case. Can you give us some examples of really how people are going to get into the space sector from following this kind of course?
Well, actually, the courses, both of them are actually designed for this purpose. So they are an entry to access, let's say, to space for people who either doesn't have any information or knowledge about space, or for some of the people that comes to ISU, this is the way they are specialized on a very, very niche area in space and have no idea about anything else in space. So these courses really target the multidisciplinarity of ISU in that sense. So when you come to this course, for example, let's say you are a lawyer, maybe a space lawyer, or maybe just a lawyer in the international law or national law, so that you need to understand how things work in the space sector. So these really will teach you how things work. So I kind of call or think about these courses like learning a language. Of course, in, let's say, going through a short course like this, you will not learn about the details of things, but you'll learn the language of law, space law. You'll learn the language of space engineering, language of space science. So when you then in a conference, for example, meet with people and two engineers are talking or two lawyers are talking, you will actually understand what they are talking about. Normally it's not the case. So this is really your introduction as a language course. Then of course we have other ISU programs if you further want to go into detail.
But to piggyback on just what Göktuğ mentioned, I think it's the analogy with the language is important. And that allows you to either speak the language, not necessarily fluently, that's not what, but so have the keywords, the vocabulary you need to understand. But also another example is if you are a student or if you want to pivot into the space sector and you're like, I'm not sure about it, I want, if you are an undergrad and before going to grad school or a high school, or if you, again, if you want to jump into the space sector and changing jobs, maybe taking those courses helps you to understand the dynamics, the different domains, so you can help to choose better what you like, what you understand better, what you would like to do after that. So all of that is also some benefits of doing it. And also, go to the example of the number you gave of more than 300 alumni that did already digital learning with us at ISU is a testament of the value of this type of education. So you are still benefiting from the ISU experience.
Yeah. I mean, you're becoming part of the network anyway. Yeah. So it's maybe you're not meeting them as in the course, but you're meeting them otherwise because you're becoming part of the community. Yeah. You have your ISU access, your ISU pin, so you meet them in the conferences and you become part of the ISU, social media channels. Yeah. So
the ISU family.
Exactly.
It's the entry door to the ISU network. And then also for future participants to those programs, if they enroll into those programs, they will have specific condition to go into the other program we do from either that they are in our record, so they have fast track access, discount. That also not discount. Not forget about that. That's also something we will do for our alumni that are already engaging into that. By registration and participating to those programs, you have discounts to other programs we are doing. So that's another benefit.
Yeah. I'm sure in the audience we have some people like this as well. So I have gone through many ISU programs myself as part of the management role. So I know lots of people saying that I was always interested about learning about space. I was fascinated about space since childhood, etc., etc. But I feel that there was not many people like me, and when I come to ISU, I feel that there are many others like me. I feel like I found my family. So I think this really works also in the online programs. So not only in person. So it's an important aspect.
Yeah, that's awesome. So an asynchronous program. Watch it when you're available, but nevertheless you're able to enter into this networking. Network, if I can say so, which allows you to get into the ISU family, of course, and then bring your career into the space sector, which is a really nice compromise, I think, between the necessities of having to attend an in-person course, which can sometimes be really difficult, and then of course the benefits though of what it is that we have to offer. So that's on-demand space courses, but we also want to talk about another program which has existed for a little while, but it's getting revamped. These are our online space lecture series. I think you can tell us a little bit more about those.
So after Netflix, we go to
the lecture theater.
Lecture theaters, yes.
Absolutely. So obviously, this concept started 5 years ago. So when we were locked in our houses, so we want the experience of the ISU being all together in an SSP program to be replicated in a virtual setting. And we put a lot of course, brain power into this, which actually we will hear soon from some people gone through this experience. Let me not disturb the surprise there, but so the concept is, if you actually have time and if you can do these programs at a particular time and network with people, then the online lecture series is running for the last 5 years. So let me briefly explain what it is and how it's different than the on-demand space courses. So obviously, these online lecture series is a live session. So when you are part of it, you are going through a series of lectures again, but this time live. So someone actually is talking in front of the computer like we are doing now, and then you are watching it live with many other people watching at the same time from all around the globe. Plus, in addition to these sessions, we also have some complementary networking sessions which are also live, not asynchronously, but also we have, sessions, breakout rooms, kind of mentorship in a way, which is also ISU is known for. So this is one of the major differences. So in a nutshell, it is a synchronous course, but some people will ask, obviously, this sounds great, but let's say the time zone will not work. What can I do? It is still possible to actually do this asynchronously, because whatever will be live, we will actually record it, and it will be available through our portal. So in case you cannot actually make it synchronously, you can still do this program asynchronously as well. So it's both.
Because as an example, the next course will be the the Space Studies program that will take place in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And that means if you are in a time zone similar to that one, it's good. But if you are more in Asia or in Europe, it might be more difficult. But exactly that allows participants from all over the world still to follow it, even if they are not based in a time zone consistent with
Exactly.
Texas.
You can catch up like some hours later if you're in Australia or in Asia Pacific region, for example, for the upcoming one. And as you can see on the slide, so we are offering online space lecture series twice a year. And these are running actually in connection with our space studies programs. So one is the Northern Hemisphere one in June, and the second one is the Southern Hemisphere one in January. And obviously now we are in April. The upcoming one is connected to SSP 24. So if you cannot attend to SSP 24, for which, by the way, the registrations are still on, but it's coming to an end.
For 2 weeks, and
Just
then
2 weeks.
it will be closed. And if you want to participate, be aware that we might be sold out very soon, because we have more than 140 participants on site already.
Wow.
Which is the biggest
Ever. That's a record.
So that's
for
why
SSP.
if you want to come on site, you can do it, but then you have to be super fast. But if you cannot come, there will be this opportunity online.
All right. Okay. So if you cannot make it to Houston, if you cannot make it to the entire 8-week duration of SSP on site in Houston this summer, then here is your opportunity to connect. So we can bring Houston, at least the lecture series of Houston, to your living room by our online space lecture series. So as you can see, this will be a 3-week opportunity. It is live from 10 to 28 of June, which is the duration that the core lecture series of SSP 24 will be running. And as you can see, the details, now I'm talking about specifically the upcoming one in June, we will be having 55 lectures, 55 live lectures broadcasted to you, whoever joining to this OSLS SSP 24 live from Houston in US. So,
because indeed it will be the same content as the participant on site for the SSP. So those lectures are exactly the same 55 lectures that participant on site will take during the SSP. SSP has other activities, but that's exactly the same content.
Exactly. So you will have the same experience in terms of the lecture series of SSP. Plus, as I mentioned, we will have actually some complementary activities specifically for the online group as well. So we will add up to that. So in terms of the time frame, so this is running in 3 weeks, as I said. So it will take around 4, maybe 4.5 hours a day of your time. And these lectures, which I will show you next, will cover all different disciplines that we already discussed in the previous section, the 7 disciplines of ISU. So since this is a live opportunity that people will be lecturing live, so you will have also the opportunity to ask live questions to the lectures, which is definitely a big difference from an on-demand program. As we mentioned, so you can follow it asynchronously as well, so they will be available for further viewing if you want to refresh during the time frame, and we will have some complementary activities as part of the OSLS SSP 24. So this is a long list, as you can see, and you will get the glimpse of it. When we were talking about our on-demand programs, we were really on the introductory level, 7 courses, 11 courses. Here we are diving not deep, but we are diving deeper. So as you can imagine, we have 55 courses, which means that we have 7, 8 courses in each of the disciplines that we discussed before, covering all different domains of space. So obviously this is progressive, so it starts from an introduction and then it goes into more details, and majority of these lectures are covered by different instructors. And when ISU operates, this is correct for all the ISU programs, we design the curriculum, and then after we have the curriculum, we pick the best person who can teach that. So when you are talking about 55 lectures, probably you will have 30, 40 different instructors teaching them. So you will get a very broad knowledge, experience coming to you from the best experts in the world for these domains. The time zones also you can see there. So in the Houston time zone, UTC-5, this will be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a lunch break, if I may say, in between the third and the fourth lecture. All right, I think this is kind of my last slide on this one, OSLS. So in terms of the admissions, our deadline, the registrations are currently on if you go to the ISU website, so you can already go and fill in the application, and our admissions team will come back to you. But you have 1.5 months from today to apply for OSLS SSP 24. You can see the fee there if you have any questions in the admissions. And just as a very quick note for the future, in January we will have an equivalent of this when we will be running our Australian program. So in January it will be shorter, it will not be 55, it will be around 30 lectures, but there will be an OSLS SH SSP in 7 months from now as well.
Okay. So our SSP and the SH SSP are really two programs that are just absolutely famous here at ISU. They've been going on for a really long time, and now we're finally we've got this opportunity for people to be able to participate at home, which is fantastic. Introductory level, but a little bit more in depth with experts in their fields teaching you everything that you need to know to get into the space sector. We have with us a couple of alumni from both online space lecture series, but also from the in-person courses as well, which I think makes for a really nice mix of experience. So we've got online joining us, we have Niels and, there they are. We've got Niels and Caroline joining us, so good day to both of you. Hello.
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 I'd like to just introduce you really quickly, if I may. So Niels, you are an aerospace engineer at Airbus in Netherlands, but you're also an alumni from the online space lecture series in 2020, and that got you excited enough to join the SSP 2 years later in SSP 22. Caroline, you are also an alumni from the online space lecture series in 2020. And you joined us in 2021 for the SSP. Now you've got kind of an interesting background because you are actually an anthropologist working on your PhD in French Guiana, dealing with large space infrastructure and its impacts on the local community. So I think we'll have some questions for you about your background in the humanities and how you were to segue that into the space sector, which is really fantastic. But to get us started, Niels, I want to ask you the first question, if I may, which is just a little bit about your path, if I could say so, your educational, your your professional path that you followed before joining the online space lecture series in 2020.
Yeah. You would say I have a very classical path. I started my education at aerospace engineering. So I started as an aerospace engineer interested in airplanes, but we also got some space lectures, and that got me interested, that got me excited. And then at the TU Delft, I did a master's in space systems engineering. That was very exciting, and from there I started my career. So I started working at Airbus Netherlands. I was a thermal engineer running a lot of analysis, but I wanted more, and I've always had a broad interest in things, and that's why I thought I want to join something of the International Space University, because I want to learn about those policies. I want to learn about all the other aspects of space that are around.
Yeah, yeah. So classic technical background, which we have a lot of people with that kind of experience, but of course space is so interdisciplinary that the technical backgrounds are fantastic, but it's great to have that additional experience, that additional knowledge of everything that's included in the space sector. So that's great. Caroline, I want to ask you another question about the engagement. You know, I think a lot of people at home are maybe wondering, it's an online course, I'm gonna be showing up in my pajamas probably in front of my computer. It's not necessarily the most engaging way to learn. Can you comment on that? And of course, as somebody, both of you, as alumni of both in-person and online programs, maybe you can give us a little bit of insight into the engagement of online programs.
Yes, yeah, sure. It was very interesting because both me and Niels were part of the first iteration of this program. And we were all, at least I was very nervous about exactly that. I was like, this is not necessarily what I signed up for. I was excited to go in person and meet other people. And now all of a sudden everything was being turned online. But actually I gained so much from that online program specifically. First of all, the content and the speakers are the same. So in that sense, just what you learn doesn't change. And the content itself is already so engaging, and there's so many different things that you learn from very well-known speakers who really bring all their knowledge to you. And what is interesting about the online lecture series, I think, is that it teaches you how to create an environment for yourself that is the most optimal to actually take in all that information. So for some people that means staying in your pajamas, but for others it actually means really purposefully creating a good bubble and taking your coffee and really making sure that you go into it as if it is an in-person program. And I think almost all the participants went into it like that, which really boosted my online etiquette for the rest of my career. And that is something that is very valuable and not necessarily spoken of. But being able to be engaged and engaging others online is such a pivotal skill. And another very fun thing about the online program is that you still get to hear the speakers and meet your fellow participants online. But then you have a sort of prolonged experience because you will get to meet those people later on in your career when you go visit ISU again or when you go to a different conference. So even though Niels and I initially met online, a few years later we actually met in person, which was really amazing. And to this day, I get to have those moments of joy when I meet people from our online program in person.
Yeah.
So I would not be worried about engagement. It's really designed to engage everyone.
Yeah. You know, I thought what you mentioned about this skill of learning to be engaging and engaging through online channels is really interesting because, of course, the international nature of the space sector means that we are very often having to deal with colleagues and other agencies and other industries online because, quite simply, it's just more efficient. And so you make a good point that skill of being engaging and engaging with online participants and online content is in fact really important, especially for the space agency, or excuse me, the space industry. Yeah. Now I want to ask both of you, because you've both had this experience of the online program combined with the in-person programs. Could you compare them a little bit? Niels, maybe I could start with you. how would you compare the in-person SSP with the online program, and what were maybe some of the benefits, the drawbacks of each?
Yeah, I think they were both valuable and just both in different ways. Of course, you follow the same lectures, which means you will also get the same base knowledge. But where online you're much more focused on those lectures, in person you're much more focused on other activities. I personally got to say that I enjoy doing both of them. So by doing first the online lecture series, you gain this base level knowledge. And then 2 years later, I get to hear similar lectures, updated already, because everything is changing, as G2 was saying. But also some lectures on different topics. And it allowed me to really focus on the things I didn't know so well, because I had that base level knowledge already. So I like that combination of the two, actually, where, oh, I had this online experience where I could relax, learn really some things I had no clue about. And then the second time in person, I could relearn it and then focus on the things I wanted to know even more about. I was able to ask more interesting, better questions at those second lectures.
Yeah, it was a primer, so to speak. You had a
Yeah.
little bit of an introduction online in a really comfortable, informal setting where you could just kind of go at your own pace, and then that allowed you to be even more efficient and more productive at in the in-person sessions, which is great. Caroline, can I ask you about the same question? Your experience between with both programs, online versus in person.
I echo a lot of what Niels is saying. I think the programs are very complementary, and I enjoy both of them really in their own right. I agree with Niels that sometimes when you're online, you really get to 100% focus on the content that's being presented to you, because you don't necessarily have a lot of other people in the room at the same time. So I think that's definitely a big advantage of being online. You can really just take in the content, make all the notes that you want. So I think that's really a really key benefit. And then the great thing is that the networking exists in both facets, but just very different. So when you are in the online program, it's a little bit more targeted. There are specific hours, specific moments to really engage with other people. Whereas in the SSP in person, it's a continuous process where you really spend weeks together with the same group. What is quite fun about it being online is that you get to see a very personal side of people. When people are away from their homes, they are sometimes a little bit different than what they are when you're at home. But when Niels and I met, there was loads of people in our program with kids running around or dishes that had to be done. So we just created a sort of livelihood that made it feel like you were really part of each other's daily lives, not just in a bubble that the SSP can sometimes feel like, which is also amazing. And I enjoyed my 9 weeks a lot. But I really enjoyed this contrast of the different ways of engaging with people, and that really does not get lost in the online program.
Yeah. You can talk to people in their pajamas instead of dressed up nicely for the SSP. Caroline, I want to stick with you for just a little bit longer, because Niels, we've heard a little bit about your experience in a very technical background. But of course, there's room for just about everybody in the space sector, and Caroline, you're a really great example of that, because you came to ISU with a humanities background. You're an anthropologist. Can you tell us a little bit about how ISU's helped you in your entry into the space sector, coming from a non-technical background?
Sure. I think I can talk hours about this, because I think it's a very interesting topic to be sort of initially you feel maybe out of place in the space industry as a humanities person. When I went to ISU and I did my undergraduate in anthropology, I heard the word outer space exactly 0 times. And I did not grow up as a science fiction nerd or really with a lot of information about the space industry. So I was really just a blank page. I knew nothing. And I was quite nervous about going, because I felt like I wouldn't potentially belong, or sort of this inferiority complex that many of us have experienced. But so quickly you realize that there really is a space for humanities in a lot of different facets of the space industry. And I think that's where I really see a lot of value of the program, because when you get these lecture series, you don't only get information, you get an insight into the questions and the possibilities that are out there in the space industry. So certain lectures were maybe not the ones that I would think would be the most useful for me, but actually they opened up ideas of potential paths of research or of collaborations. And I think what has been very useful for me is that I learned the jargon to talk to a lot of different types of space people. Because you have the space engineers, you have the space scientists, you have the space lawyers, and each of them sort of have their own base knowledge. And as soon as you do ISU, you're able to converse with all of these people on their terms, and that can really boost confidence in an industry that, whether or not we like to admit it, is still quite skeptical sometimes about the humanities contribution. I was at a big space conference, and in the middle of my presentation, someone asked me, "What are you doing here as a humanities person?" And through the experience of ISU, I actually felt confident enough to say, no, I belong here too. Space is about humans just as much as it is about anything else. So it's this confidence and being able to converse with a wide variety of people that has really helped me in my career as well and to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget that behind all of the technological innovation, behind all of the engineering, behind all of this really exciting stuff that happens in space are just a group of people, Homo sapiens, who are all getting together and making things happen. And what you mentioned about coming to ISU and just learning about the possibilities was really interesting, because I think we have a lot of people at home who are probably watching and are thinking to themselves, that wow, if somebody who has a background in the humanities is able to make it in the space sector, there really is room for everyone, and this is a way to learn about how you can make that happen. I want to thank both of you. Caroline, looks like you might have frozen for a little bit. Hopefully that'll come back in just a moment, but because I do want you to stay with us for a little bit longer. But I want to expand this discussion to our full panel here a little bit, if I can, and invite, of course, the audience at home, if there are any questions as well. They could send those questions to us via the chat as well. I see some are already coming in. But before we do that, I want to just ask about some of the details. Are there any prerequisites? Are there any minimum requirements in order to join these types of online offerings?
Actually, that's a good question. Probably I didn't actually mention it during the presentation. So for the other ISU programs, it's a more strict admissions process. For these courses, these are more introductory level. So you don't, for example, need to be a graduate of a Bachelor of Science or whatever. So if you are part of a university, generally if you're in the second grade of a university, you can just apply to any of our online digital offerings. And beside that, I think...
would say second and above.
And above, exactly. So there's no limit. Yes. Because we have, as I mentioned, the target audience, we have students, but we have very senior professionals also joining these programs. And really, it's the case. Everybody has things to learn from each other, regardless of their age, regardless of their background. It's a melting pot. Those programs, everybody learns from each other. So this is how I see it. The digital programs are really open to anyone. You just need to speak English.
Sure. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. English is, of course, the international language of space. So yeah, I think that makes sense. We have a question in the chat that I want to address to both of you, and including our participants online, Niels and Caroline, if you have some comments. And that is the question of employability and how do we turn somebody who's got an education, then they go on and do an online course like this. How do they turn that into something that looks good on a resume, that looks good on a CV, so that they have not just the course under their belt, but maybe also some extras that they can use to boost their employability?
Well, that's a very valid and important question, but what is important is that you get, on one hand, the knowledge, so the stickiness of knowledge, as Caroline mentioned, that you are confident, that you can interact with a lot of people, but also you got the recognition of being through the ISU programs, because that's like a seal of quality of the education that has been program running for a very long time with our global international faculty, so that they know that it's something real, that you have had those things and you end up with, I would not say a black belt, but maybe more like for the SSP, maybe it's like a green belt or blue belt, but at least that shows you are not a newcomer, you're not a white belt. So that's very important, because that shows also when we have people that want to do upskilling, reskilling, or simply just learn about it, they know, people will see, okay, it's ISU, they will look at it, yes, it's this university that have trained so many leaders in the sector, so this is real.
I think it's worth mentioning too that we do have alumni just about everywhere in the space sector.
Yeah.
Whether it's public agencies, whether it's private industry. Our alumni network is over 5,600 people strong. We've got alumni in high places all over, and they recognize the ISU brand, of course. They recognize their own.
They do, because they also know what they have gone through. They appreciated all the different programs, and they want to hire people with similar experience. So on our social media channels, we see every second day. Niels, Caroline, they are part of it. So there's like every second day there's a job alerts coming on. Hey, I'm hiring this. Do you have anyone knowing this, and etc. etc. So people really feel close to each other within this community.
Sure.
It's very critical.
And also with this program online, the ISU teaching is based on a 3I philosophy, or 3 pillars. It's intentional, intercultural, and interdisciplinary. So even though you are online, because of all these different opportunities to network during the lectures, outside, ask questions, you get that as well. And those are recipes for the entry and success in the space sector. Because as Dan mentioned, beyond animations, there are people. And that's what is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have a follow-up question, this time about mentorship. So the online courses are, of course, there is some limitation. Being there in person is always a good thing, but we nevertheless offer this opportunity for mentorship. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of what we thought the kind of missing points, because you're not with the other people. So this is why we have this complementary activity as part of our online programs, where we offer, and as you can imagine, all our community, in particular the alumni, but not only, they want to contribute back to ISU. So whenever we say, hey, we have this program, would you like to mentor? We have like hundreds of people coming. Yes, when? Tell us. So this is generally what's happening. So for all of these online programs, we just say in a few days during the program, we will have mentorship sessions. Whoever comes from the community signing up, we actually distribute these names to the people, to the participants of the program, so they can actually go through their resumes, their bios, understand who they want to talk to, and then we devote a whole hour, sometimes 1-to-1, sometimes 2-to-1, 3-to-1, which is also nice, to have these discussions, mentorship sessions. And this is very much appreciated, especially in the online programs.
Yeah.
I'm sure Caroline and Niels will agree with that. When we actually run similar mentorship sessions in the on-site programs, they are not in demand that much. But in an online program, they are very much in demand. I don't know, what do you think, guys?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. Like, I enjoyed them more in the online program. And one thing that's also different between online and in person is that in person, the lecturers that you get, the people you get on site, these are often very senior people who have time to come to the location and do the teaching and stay there for at least a few days. But the mentoring online, these are people that could be just a few years ahead of me in their career, because they have an hour and they can contribute that hour to be in contact with you. And for them, I could much better relate, like, okay, what do I want to be the next step in my career? What is the next step I want to take in this new space business, for example? And on that level, it was much easier to connect online, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think another interesting angle from doing it online is that sometimes when you're speaking to people in larger groups in person, everybody wants to ask a question that interests them specifically. But when you have an hour with someone and it's just you and one other person, you can really go into detail. And the great thing about the mentorship session is that it doesn't even necessarily have to be about the space program. This is also the moment to ask about work-life balance or about the different obstacles that people have faced for whatever reason in their career path or just in their life. And I found that it was much easier to go into real depth when you have an hour with someone online than when you are sitting at a table with 10 other people. And both conversations are very interesting and very valuable. But I really learned a lot from those personal interactions.
And I know from previous experience that these mentorship sessions do not restrict themselves within that hour. They carry on. Once these people meet, then they continue the connection in their career.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that we're starting to run short of time, so I do want to ask one last question, which is really, really simple. How do people interested go find a little bit more information? How do they sign up? Where can we direct them?
Sure. Well, today we talked about the digital education offerings of ISU. So obviously on our website we have a special section talking about digital education. So if you just go there, which is isunet.edu/digital-education, so you will find pretty much everything we talked about today in further detail. And obviously you can apply through the website, and then our admissions team will get your data, and then we'll come back to you as quick as possible.
Good. So I think we'll show that link here in just a couple seconds at the end of this presentation, but of course you'll find it in the comments. You'll just go onto our website really, and you'll be able to find all the information that you need to join us. So I would like to thank Niels and Caroline. Can we bring you back up on screen? One last time, I'd like to thank you both one more time for joining us. This was really great to have you with us. And to have your real world, real life experience to share with people who are interested in an online program. So thank you both. Of course, I would like to thank you both for joining us today. We've got our tech team who's made this possible. Thank you to you. And of course, thank you to all of you who are watching at home. Please send us your questions via the online forms that you'll find. You can also send us an email at info@isunet.edu, and we'll look forward to seeing you online and maybe even in person, hopefully. So thanks again. We'll see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you soon.